When the truth finally came out, it landed with more heat than a fresh pie straight from the oven. With sharp debates, clashing voices, and enough drama to fuel an entire city, The View has earned its reputation as the daytime arena where sparks never stop flying. That chaos is exactly what kept millions tuning in and secured its title as the heavyweight of talk shows. But then came Candace Cameron Bure, who lifted the curtain in a candid exchange with Allison Schnack, giving the audience a peek behind the polished chaos. Her own experiences shed light on what many had suspected all along, that sometimes the comments sound less like thoughtful discussion and more like words strung together by a confused echo. And that's where things get interesting, because today we're unpacking every sharp twist, curious moment, and revealing detail from her perspective. Buckle up, because what might seem like ordinary daytime chatter is about to be seen in a whole new way.
If I'm not wrong, because I don't know too much about The View, but I've seen definitely like some controversial clips online or on YouTube. Yeah. That's a primarily liberal audience.
Oh yeah, it is. That whole show started and it's called The View because it's supposed to be 5 different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much one viewpoint.
That's what I picked up.
Yeah, there's usually like one token conservative. So I was that conservative for 2 years on this show.
But going into it, you knew that you were going to be that kind of token target.
Yeah.
Between 2015 and 2016, when Candace sat at The View's table, the show leaned more toward breezy conversations than all-out political sparring, but the shift was hard to miss. It was like watching a calm puppy slowly morph into a glitter-covered llama. Somewhere along the way, the producers seemed to decide, why not turn every panelist into a political expert overnight? Suddenly, it didn't matter whether anyone could define a filibuster. What mattered was having a headline-ready opinion on everything. And then came Trump. His entrance into politics was the equivalent of setting off a fireworks warehouse in the middle of a quiet library. Just the mention of his name guaranteed clicks, ratings, and endless arguments, and The View was quick to join the frenzy. Like every other talk show scrambling to stay relevant, it dedicated chunk after chunk of airtime to fiery rants and high-volume debates. But here's the real question, the one that makes this story even more fascinating. With all the turbulence swirling around, why did Candace sign on in the first place? She knew the storm was coming, yet she still walked straight into the eye of it.
Tried to turn that job down.
Are you serious?
Multiple times.
That's so funny.
And I was like, I know they talk so much politics on the show and I'm not comfortable with that, so no. And then they came back and they were like, we're actually switching it. It's going to be more pop culture, more evergreen topics. We're not really going to talk about politics that much. And it was like, okay. And then I was like, well, I live in LA and I'm not moving to New York, so no. And they said, we'll fly you back and forth every week. We'll pay for the tickets every week.
The biggest open door.
They just kept upping the ante. Like everything I tried to say no to, they had a solution for.
This only proved one thing. The producers had a vision, but quickly abandoned it once they realized politics equaled ratings gold. Even Raven-Symoné, who shared the stage with Candace, admitted it in her own unforgettable way. She said she felt like the victim of a catfishing scheme. What she thought she signed up for was a fun, lighthearted pop culture program. Instead, she landed in the middle of a non-stop political storm. And honestly, that statement sums it up perfectly. Boom. The transformation was staggering compared to Barbara Walters' original blueprint. The View was meant to be a place where women of different backgrounds, ages, and perspectives could share thoughts on anything and everything. Instead, it shifted into a full-blown political battleground, with the table often uniting against anyone who dared to voice a differing opinion. Candace also pulled back the curtain on how the co-hosts prepared for their on-air battles. Her description made it clear. What went on behind the scenes was so chaotic, it could leave your head spinning and your patience packing its bags.
How did you prepare for each and every episode?
Girl, I have never prepared like I have prepared for that show in my life, okay? You basically get a packet of about 80 topics the night before because they're all current events. They keep moving and changing, whatever happens in the news cycle. So I would spend probably a minimum of 4 hours each night researching all 80 topics so I could understand what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And then on the morning of, with the hosts and the producers, they break it down. We go through all 80 topics and then pinpoint maybe 7 or 8 of those that we're actually going to discuss on the show.
I have to admit, this makes it clear why The View sometimes felt less like a talk show and more like a public safety risk. Skimming a few articles the night before doesn't turn anyone into a policy expert, yet that's exactly how some panelists approached it. Passing a college exam with last-minute cramming is one thing, but trying that act in front of millions on live television, that's another story entirely. From the outside, the pattern was easy to spot. As soon as the conversation touched on a headline, buzzwords would start flying like confetti, and suddenly, boom, someone would puff themselves up with a confidence as artificial as it was fragile. When energy or economics came up, you could almost see the gears grinding. Wait, do I even know what I'm talking about? And the familiar lineup, Joy, Whoopi, Sunny, often delivered these moments so consistently you could practically turn it into a game. Every exaggerated take, every rushed opinion, every misplaced fact, all part of the chaos that became the show's trademark. Candace, however, didn't shy away from telling it exactly how it was. In earlier interviews, she spoke openly about her time on the panel. Her words weren't polished, softened, or spun. They were raw, honest, and sometimes brutal. In doing so, she peeled back the glossy surface and revealed the messy, unfiltered truth behind the scenes.
I don't miss The View at all. I love being on talk shows. I love hosting talk shows,
Right.
but that was a hard job every single day in, day out, talking politics.
Yeah.
So,
And Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And my
no.
faith, that was the easiest part for me, to be able to talk about my faith and share my faith. But I'm happy right now not to be on that show and talk about lighter topics right now.
There was only one type of stress that I've ever felt in my life that came from that show. It was so difficult. And to manage that emotional stress was very, very hard. Felt like I was going into a show that I didn't have a clear opinion about, or nervous to talk about.
Meghan McCain shared her own eye-opening realization in an opinion piece for the Daily Mail. She admitted, "I thought I was there to be the conservative voice. I figured they wanted a Republican at the table." What she quickly discovered was far different. The producers weren't looking for balanced debate. They were looking for a punching bag. McCain explained that it wasn't just the so-called Republican extremists her co-host despised. It was anyone who dared to challenge their narrative. And honestly, she's not wrong. The role came with an unspoken job description: be the face of conservatism, brace yourself for a daily 4-against-1 sparring match, and survive the onslaught of interruptions, sarcastic eye rolls, and conversational acrobatics that could win Olympic medals. But it wasn't only the panel. The audience played its part too, often acting like an unofficial fifth co-host, piling on with applause or jeers that amplified the attacks. It raises the obvious question: is taking a public scolding really worth the paycheck? For McCain, the answer leaned toward no. Candace Cameron Bure had echoed similar frustrations about her time on the show. She pointed out that the conservative chair has always felt like a revolving door, filled briefly and then abandoned just as fast. And maybe that's no accident. With the format so stacked against one side, the token conservative was less of a voice and more of a prop, destined to fizzle out quicker than a diner pancake left on the counter.
You have different reactions when you're put under pressure. So they talk about fight or flight. Like, do you fight? Are you ready to go for it? Or do you want to take off? Like, you want to hide and you want to run? And I would say I am a flight person.
Really?
I don't love conflict. I'm not afraid of it. I like resolution. So I'm always happy to have the discussion because I like directness and I like resolution. But I'm not like, my gut reaction is not to fight with people. I want to take a hike. So with that, I think my disposition helped me in that when people really come at me, I don't get super riled up. Like, I don't put on the boxing gloves.
It was nearly impossible for anyone to get through an entire show without being steamrolled. Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin had a way of drowning out opposing voices, not with reasoned counterpoints, but with dramatic hand gestures, raised tones, and lines repeated until they sounded like absolute truth. Candace Cameron Bure admitted that moments like these made her feel like she had walked into an ambush rather than a discussion. Meghan McCain echoed the same frustration, saying that every conservative voice was treated as a convenient target, while the audience often cheered along like an unofficial fifth co-host. And here's the irony. The very same intensity that drew in viewers for the spectacle may also be pushing the show toward burnout. When every conversation feels like a cage match, people eventually stop tuning in for substance and start wondering if the shouting is all that's left. Could that be why the panel keeps losing its token conservative? Or is the drama the point, fueling ratings even as credibility slips? So, what do you think? Does this chaos add spice, or is it sabotaging the show? Share your thoughts below and pass this video along to anyone who's ready for a fresh, balanced perspective.